Hi everyone, my name's Louis Yakumi from LConnect, and I'm very pleased to be joined today by Benedikt Birner, the Vice President of Global Logistics at Adidas. Hello, Benedikt.
Hi, Louis. Hi.
I've got two links with Benedikt. I've known Benedikt from his time in the automotive logistics industry, and his current company Adidas are the sponsors of the greatest soccer team in the world, Arsenal, which most of you know is my soccer team. Benedikt has a unique background, having spent many years in the automotive logistics sector before moving into the fast-moving world of global consumer goods with his role at Adidas. So can you just give us a brief background on your career so far?
Yeah, thank you, Louis. Thanks for having me today. So I think my career has been very colorful. I spent many years in the military, and after the military, there was a big decision in which way it should go. And I always liked logistics, so that's why I studied logistics. And my first job after the military then was for a large automotive supplier in Germany. And this is where I started my journey in a corporate sector, managing projects in logistics. But as I wanted to get more experience, then I moved to the market side of things. So I moved to China, managed logistics there, managed for Asia Pacific also logistics as well, and then moved back managing the global logistics for the company, the outbound supply chain as well. And then I joined Adidas, which is a completely different sector. Yeah? We can talk about this today.
Okay, you spent many years in the automotive logistics, but what lessons or practices from the automotive industry have been most useful to you in your new role?
Yeah. So I think I'm thinking about three things mainly. I think what makes automotive logistics very special is the drive on lean management, on continuous improvement. That's something I was exposed very quickly to after I started managing logistics or transport logistics in the market side. I think that's very unique, which you don't see maybe so intensive in other industries. Yeah. What I also took away in a positive way was the leadership skills I gained during my time I spent as an expert in Asia then. So I think, yes, managing in Europe an automotive supplier or a large function for an automotive supplier is difficult and challenging. But managing then in a different culture, you get a lot of more exposure. So I think this is also something very special I brought to my job right now. And I would also say we had many situations where the supply chains, as you mentioned already, we're mentioning more just in time and supply chains are tight. So there's a higher focus on risk management and resilience and contingency planning, as a line down can be very costly and we need to make sure to ship whatever it takes. So that's also something that, I think I took along, in the capabilities and also in the attitude, how you look at the supply chain.
Yeah. And in what ways does managing logistics at a global consumer brand differ most from the automotive industry?
Yeah. So I think if you look into the different parts of the supply chain, starting from demand planning, I would say the planning to set up a OEM factory takes many, many years, and it's many billions of investments going into there. Whereas, in the fashion industry, we are chasing trends. So you have already a completely different starting point there, where made in automotive logistics, everything is very tacted. There's a very high focus on the planning. Whereas, in the fashion industry, you have trends. It's very volatile, and it's not about being just in time, so to say. It's really about the speed to the market. So we identify a trend today, and we need to now make sure that we have the production capabilities and bring the goods to the market. So that's a major difference I'm spotting. Comparing it.
Because a new car takes years, 3, 4, 5 years, even though the Chinese are speeding that up. Whereas your products have to be developed and go from idea to market very quickly.
Yeah. And also looking into this, in the fashion industry, you have two cycles. You have a winter season and then you have a spring-summer season in the end of the day. Yeah. And this is really how the planning works. Yeah. And what sells maybe in one season might not sell well in the next season. So where you have maybe in automotive logistics, yes, you have just in time tight supply chain challenge, but you don't have changing products from every 6 months. And this makes it also very unique. And this was also something different. I had to look into, and I had to have a lot of new learnings then. But yeah.
It's good. And are there areas where you think the automotive sector, if you ever go back to the automotive sector, could learn from a company like yours, from their supply chain and logistics of fast-moving consumer fashion industry?
Yeah, where maybe again in automotive, there's a strong drive on lean management, and continuous improvement means there's a certain setup how things work. Yeah, they're very, very rigid. Yeah, you have in terms of flexibility, you have different. Let's talk about transport logistics. You have different transport modes down to hand carry if it needs to be. You don't really have this in the fashion industry. In the fashion industry, it's about the speed to the market. And it's about flexibility. So as an organization where maybe in an automotive supplier, I would often think, well, there's a very strong focus on the own manufacturing versus, what do we actually want to sell? How does the selling or demand is running up from the customer side? In the fashion industry, we are very much focused on the customer and consumer in the end of the day. And this is where I would say we could transfer more of the flexibility with a large organization back to automotive logistics and learn how can we fulfill, ultimately customer expectations, while sometimes you need to work against your own KPIs, and we cannot work in our silo. So that's something I especially noticed after I joined the fashion industry. That is really different there.
Yeah. And you don't have the pressure, I guess, of the factory shut down, in the sense of one of the biggest pressures and costs on logistics is if something is missing and you shut the plant down, there is a huge cost, a huge pressure about that. There isn't such a thing in the consumer goods.
I would say there's more flexibility in how we allocate sourcing volumes. I think it's very much about the compliance, sustainability. So there are strong regulations that our manufacturing partners need to bring to the table. But there's more flexibility. And if you look currently into the tariff situation in the US, there are different sourcing countries taxed in different ways. And of course, there's a bit of a playing room how we could allocate now sourcing volumes. I think maybe in automotive logistics, you have a factory in a certain country, you're much more rigid again, you're not so flexible. And that's also something we need to consider here. Overall.
And working across, you kind of mentioned it there, the silos. In automotive, it seems that sometimes it's, probably production manufacturing is king. Purchasing is definitely up there as well as important. And logistics, they kind of operate in silos. Manufacturing wants manufacturing, purchasing wants purchasing. Logistics tries to be in the middle, but just everyone is so restrictive in what they want. Do you have better collaboration across the functions, including marketing and product development, more so than you have it perhaps in the automotive industry?
Yeah. It's maybe not yet in the fashion industry where it should be. Maybe the differences from company to company, but certainly there's a lot of engagement, because maybe a difference is you have a sales colleague who's sitting on the table today and would like to make a sale on a trending article. That's different from filling up in the beginning of the year your order book in automotive. Yeah, so you need to be very much capable to make these decisions, and then you need to be connected within a company to make it happen. Yeah, so there needs to be a very strong linkage between the functions. You cannot operate in your silo. So you always need to think one step ahead. Where sometimes I think in automotive there's a strong proudness on manufacturing capabilities, but then we forget that we actually want to sell something. So it's maybe one observation.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, working or talking to people I know in other industries, in the sense, especially things like other consumer goods, there is more of a focus on the end customer and less focus on cost. Did you find the cost pressure in your sector the same or less important than the automotive industry?
Yeah, I think one difference I noticed immediately is that in the automotive industry, you have a very strong focus on the pipeline stock, on working capital deployed and all of that. So I didn't see this focus directly when I joined the fashion industry. Yeah. Again, there it's about understanding the consumer, getting the products to the market, what the consumer wants. And it's also the reputation is not based on how excellent we are in the supply chain. It's really based on how does the consumer experience us. If he goes to a store and he doesn't find our product, well, then that's a loss simply, and so that's a little bit different. On the cost side, of course, we have budgets we need to fulfill, but there's a bit more flexibility. For example, if we see that we can generate higher sales, or if we can capture market share, or we can capture opportunities in the market, we will go over the budgets and we will deploy financial capital where it's needed there. I found it more difficult in automotive to find the flexibility.
What about technology and IT from a logistics perspective? Everyone's looking at AI, for example. Now, I'm not sure everyone is using it correctly, but it's something everyone's examining. So, what about the use of logistics or supply chain technology or IT?
I think on the basic side of things in automotive, you will find much more advanced levers in the digitization of transport management and logistics management. The warehouse automation is good on both sides and also needed, because this is where we are facing the customer in the end. But in the end, topics like supply chain visibility, tracking, tracing, I think automotive is more advanced in there. So there are quite some opportunities we're looking into right now. If you talk about the trends and what's coming next, I think AI will play a major role, because if you simply think about it, if today something is not performing as it should, someone needs to sit down, he needs the data, he needs the capability to generate insights, and then he needs to take action. And I think this is where topics like AI agents come in, where you can generate the insights much, much faster in a more professional and structured way, and then go much faster into the action mode for improvements. I think this is something needs to be employed. But again, to be capable to go for this, you need a very good database and a digitized supply chain. Yeah. That's the basis of all.
And perhaps it's almost a similar question, maybe, but what supply chain or logistics trends do you think will shape both industries over the next few years?
Yeah, I do think AI and the technology that is coming out of there, because maybe now it's not mature enough, but the efficiency gains you can get from this, I think there was an expectation when we started with process management and then looked into RPAs, the robotic process automation. There you had already efficiency gains from 3x sometimes, depending on what you want to automate. But when you look into AI, you can have gains of 50x. So that's a whole different game. Yeah? So I think this will shape generally how we manage in supply chain, no matter what industry. And there will be many new startups, many new companies coming out with new ideas and solutions, and some will be a good trial where companies like us can learn from it, and some will also grow and prosper. So I think it's important for us, as we are managing large pieces of the company, we need to keep our eyes open, we need to stay connected, we need to stay aware of what's happening in the industry, and then try to capture the right moments to get the solutions into the company.
Mm-hmm. And I was only a couple of days, I posted something on LinkedIn and about automotive and other industries. And one of the reply was from the head of supply chain at a car maker, said he can't understand why more people from other industries don't hire people from the automotive industry, from automotive logistics. Do you think that it's a good fit? That moving from automotive into other industries is an advantage or a good fit, and I suppose also the other way around, from other industries into automotive.
Yeah, that's a very good one. So I would say it's a very good fit, because it's a different experience. I remember when I had my interviews, when we talked about me joining the company, there was a question mark if I would fit into the culture. Because I think automotive is a culture by itself. It's maybe more traditional. It has its certain style and shape of things. And then when you join a fashion company, I mean, we have meetings where we sit in shorts, on the table and discuss the strategy for the next 5 years. So it's just a different culture. And this was a question mark. But I would say this has nothing to do with the experience we have or capabilities we gained in supply chain management or logistics management. I think that's just a personal topic. Does the person fit into a different culture? And therefore, there are guidelines, and what's maybe relevant for one company is not so relevant for the other company. It needs to be checked. from supply chain management. If the company, let's say if a fashion company is open to get a new pair of eyes of how supply chain can be managed, then it's a very good fit. But if the company is generally closed up and you join and then you see the opportunities, but you don't get really the enablement to follow up on the opportunities or to execute against it, I think then it's very difficult. And this is where I see maybe colleagues also frustrated. They join a different industry and then they know something should be done in a different way and they know maybe a better way, but they don't get it done because it's a large company maybe, and it has its certain way and its own way of things. So I think this is something to watch out.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Benedikt. Thanks for sharing your insights and experiences with us. And I only hope from your company's perspective that the winners of the European Champions League this year are sponsored and wearing a kit of Adidas, particularly if they're an English company and wear red and white. But thank you very much, Benedikt. And I'm sure our contacts, most of my contacts are in the automotive industry, but I think many people who work in supply chain and logistics will find this a valuable, some valuable information. So thank you very much, Benedikt.
Thank you, Louis, for this opportunity.
Thank you.